Hi, it's York, and welcome to another episode of Community Conversations with Port Hope Hyundai. This week, I've been test driving the 2025 Hyundai Santa Cruz. Now, this vehicle stands out for everyday practicality, especially when you are filling up. Fuel efficiency with great engine options and a drivetrain that is tuned for real-world cruising. This vehicle delivers fuel economy that rivals many crossovers while still offering that pickup-style utility. So whether you're commuting to work or heading out for a weekend haul, the Santa Cruz keeps trips efficient without sacrificing comfort or tech. And if your idea of utility includes rough trails and remote weekend getaways, the Hyundai Santa Cruz has earned its stripes for sure. This week, I'm having a conversation with Pastor Benjamin Mills from Hope Community Church. Well, Benjamin, thank you very much for agreeing to be a part of Community Conversations this week. For those that don't know you, give us your Benjamin Mills story and how you ended up in Northumberland County.
Yeah, so I am actually like third generation pastor. So my grandpa was a pastor in Oshawa, and my dad has been a pastor kind of all over. So I grew up a lot of places in Ontario. In fact, I was born in Blind River. So I'm probably one of the few people who have lived in both Port Hope and Blind River and not worked for Cameco. So that's a good claim to fame.
That's a very good point.
Yes. But then, grew up as a pastor's kid all over Southern Ontario, mainly Brantford, Cambridge area, and went away to Bible college. And then when I was looking for a church, landed here at a church in Cobourg, Fellowship Baptist, and met my wife, Naomi, who is a third generation Port Hoper.
Right,
and
okay.
So she's a combination of a workman and a pocock, right? And so that's kind of a couple long-time Port Hope families. And so I met her and we got married, and then we moved to Port Hope and been here ever since.
So was it the opportunity to be a youth pastor in Port Hope in Cobourg, that brought you here, or was there something else about Northumberland County?
It was just the opportunity to be the youth pastor. And I remember I got off the phone from the interview, the initial call, and I said to my dad, "Where's Cobourg?" Right? Like, where's Port Hope? And he said, "You drive through it every single year on the way to the cottage." But when you're a little kid and you're driving down the 401, you don't pay a lot of attention to what communities you're driving past. And so then I looked it up, I was like, oh, I know exactly where it is. Yeah.
And how long ago was it that you ended up in Port Hope, getting married and coming to Port Hope?
Okay, so I arrived in the community here 18 years ago, and then Naomi and I got married in 2011, and our first house was over on Lavinia Street here in Port Hope.
Okay. How early did you know you were going to follow in your father's and your grandfather's footsteps? When did you get the calling to become a minister?
Yeah, so that's actually a great question. I share that at the Career Choices event that they host in Cobourg every year. I just started volunteering at our church and at day camps and just in all sorts of different things. And I had a lot of adults who kind of said to me, "Ben, you're really good at this. What have you ever thought about doing it?" And then I did a co-op with my youth pastor, and it's kind of like a little internship there. And that was kind of what confirmed me that I would love to, be in pastoral ministry. And so that's what I've always encouraged young people is just start volunteering, just start showing up places. And especially here in Northumberland County, there are so many places to volunteer at. Like, everybody would love a bunch of high school students who want to show up and do some hard work. And whether it's, you love animals, you love working with your hands, you love serving people, whatever it is, there's options and opportunities everywhere for that.
So with Hope Community Church, aside from Sunday services and services at the church, how is the church involved in the community?
So we take a look at a lot of like what's already happening and how can we come alongside and help make it even better. So for instance, on Candlelight Festival that was just happening recently, we bring the full sound system for the band shell. And I work at figuring out musicians. So sometimes it's musicians from our church, sometimes it's friends of mine. This past year was some friends from First Baptist Church, and so it's figuring out that. And then, we are involved in Float Your Fanny Down the Ganney, and we build the ramp there, and we have a booth there. We help out with the Canada Day celebrations. We're there all day in the park. We're in the parade. We partner with the town on the movies in the park, and with Arts Festival, and with Family Day, with all sorts of different things. Basically, we kind of look what's happening and what can we do to show up and help and bring either freezies or hot chocolate or whatever else it might be.
Right. One of the things I hope this would lead you into is the hats we're wearing for coldest night of the year. So that's coming up in the new year.
It is. So I'm a co-chair with coldest night of the year for Port Hope, and we just got the hats in. And York, you're the first one to get one of our hats. So congratulations on that. And it's coming up February 28th, and it's such a great event to bring the community together, to walk in solidarity with some of the most marginalized in our community.
Right.
It's called Coldest Night of the Year because right across Canada, the walk support organizations that come alongside those who are going to be cold and potentially living out in the cold this time of year. And so we walk together. There's a 5K and a 2K route. And all the money here in Port Hope that we fundraise goes to Greenwood Coalition and the great work that they're doing in our community.
We mentioned those that are in need and unhoused now, especially at this time. Mm-hmm. It is good news that we do have a warming room that has opened up in Northumberland County, but it is just a warming room, and it is just one for the entire county. Your thoughts on that? We at least have this, and what can we do more to help those that are unhoused right now?
So one of the things, I just had a meeting with a good friend of mine, Shane Watson. He's a deacon over at St. John's Anglican Church. And there was a few of us that were there, but he kind of brought us together. And it was a conversation around this time of year, we can provide food and gifts and things like that. Well, what if we could provide more and help with housing at Christmas time? So we were talking about next year, looking at what if we did some things where community members could come together and even provide things like first and last month's rent for people, or if they beyond that, even furniture for their place and a fridge and a stove and things like that to help support people getting into housing. And what are ways that we can look at doing that? I think another significant thing that we need in our county, and Mayor Elena here in Port Hope was highlighting this at the county council meeting, is like, we just need better mental health and addiction support systems right across the county, right? If you interact with people who are living rough these days, you'll probably come across the majority of them are dealing with some sort of mental health or addictions issue. And so what does it look like for us to provide those services? So once we get them housed, we also have those services to like their physical needs are met through the housing and through food. What about sort of the mental side of things and with addictions and mental health support? And the issue in Northumberland County is there's so little of that. And I know like the wait lists to get in for those sorts of things, unless you have money, the wait lists are very, very long. And so looking at what can we do to bring more support in Northumberland County for mental health and addiction, because our youth are struggling so much with mental health. That's why the Youth Wellness Hub here in town is so great. Like, it's so awesome, because that's like an upstream answer to that. So that 5-10 years from now, these youth have had the mental health and addiction support if they're struggling with it when they're in that adolescent age, so that they don't end up on our street.
I would like to I was going to bring that up, the Youth Wellness Hub here in Northumberland. It was an idea that Mayor Elena Hankivsky had when she got elected. What do you think? What did it take to have this actually come to fruition in really such a short period of time? Like, it had to have taken a lot for people to come together to make this a reality.
Yeah. So I think, it's the community as a whole. So Port Hope saying, yes, we want to see this happen. And so many people donating so much money and time and resources. Like Cameco came along and they saw the need for it, and they had a significant donation there. I also think our mayor and our municipal councilors, like, I saw them out all the time at various events saying, hey, let's fundraise. How can we fundraise more? And then like taking donations, and there's even like the Toonie Drive. There's all sorts of things like that, right? And it was when the mayor and the councilors say, we want to see this happen, that they're not saying, we want to see this happen and someone else is going to do it for us. It's like, we want to see this happen and our boots are on the ground to make this happen. And so that's something, our mayor and councilor here in Port Hope are awesome at getting stuff done. And so then just to see that, they aren't asking someone else to do what they aren't willing to do, which is huge.
What message do you have for the youth in your church and throughout Northumberland County to keep things positive going forward the next 5 to 10 years here in Northumberland?
I think one of the phrases that Greenwood Coalition always talks about is focus on what is strong, not what's wrong. And I think that's a huge piece, is rather than looking around and trying to figure out what can we complain about, what can we point out that is wrong in the community, focus on what is awesome about Northumberland County. What is going well in Northumberland County? And I know like social media can cause us to always focus on the negatives. Well, get off social media and start getting out there and focusing and saying, like, what can I do to help? A lot of times it's easy to sit behind a screen and type out what you don't like, and versus getting out there and saying, well, what can I do to change it? And so for all of our young people out there to get out and say, like, what can you do to be part of the change? And all the kind of the events that I mentioned that are in our community, man, they're always looking for, new people to come out and help, and you build a relationship, you build community, you get to know people, you get to learn a new skill, and we get to come together as a community to make it better. And so that's kind of my encouragement is just show up to things and focus on how can I make this a better community.
And it does. It takes a village to make a community like this,
yeah.
right? Where's your level of optimism with what you've seen in the last, let's say, 5 years of people coming together in Northumberland County, especially on the street level, to help those in need? So grassroots.
Yeah, so grassroots level. So I'm at 2 different breakfasts each week. One Monday here in Port Hope, and one on Friday in Cobourg, and they're organized by Greenwood Coalition. And Greenwood Coalition has one paid staff member that is kind of making some of that happen. They have others behind the scenes, but it's a lot of volunteers. It's just people who are showing up to say, this is what we're going to do for breakfast for members in our community who could use a nice meal. And it's not just Greenwood doing it, though, because in Port Hope, every day of the week, there is a either hot breakfast or lunch that is being served somewhere in Port Hope at one of the most of it's at churches or other community organizations, and I know in Cobourg it's similar. And so in Cobourg there's Greenwood Coalition, there's Hope and Light, and I don't know as well all of the meals that are taking place in Cobourg, but I know there's a lot of them that are happening. And so we see at that grassroots level just volunteers and organizations saying, hey, we want to come alongside those in our community that could just use some community. And what I encourage other people with is not to show up to these thinking I'm here to serve, but to show up to say, I'm here to have a meal with my neighbors. So when I'm at these breakfasts, I actually don't cook anything or make anything or do anything. I sit down at a table and we're just there as neighbors having a meal together. And so that's something that's huge for us, is just to say, what can we do to be neighbors together? What can I show up for? And people are doing that in our county, and it is so exciting to see that take place. Sometimes we think, well, what could the government do, or what could a large organization do? What if we had lots of money? It's like, well, you know what? You showing up and doing something by just showing up is a huge piece of making our community better.
And it is really a huge piece, and it's amazing to see those that are in need coming to these lunches, but those that aren't, those who want to help and want to get involved and have that conversation. The conversation's important. The conversation starts every single day. Benjamin, thank you very much.
York, thanks. It was great.